All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of the official League of Kyle's Rivals Not Stupid podcast. I'm your host, Mike, joined as always by Alex. Joined as always by Lucho. And our guest today, coming back, call him whatever you want. Denny Cashman, Denny Kuiper Jr., whatever you want.
Denny Brita filter.
It's Dennis.
Voted most likely in high school to hold a Brita fiddle. Brita filter?
Brita fiddle.
Yeah, that was my rap name, Brita fiddle. So, hey, thanks for having me back, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Sure, man.
All right, another episode, and a lot of it's going to circle back to the same stuff we've been talking about since episode 1, but we don't want to start with that. We've got lots of other stuff to talk about. Dennis,
action-packed episode.
I'm going to let you take it away right out of the gate. What do you have to say?
Nothing. I think Tom's assessment was fair. It was perfectly fine. No, I was upset, man. I was really upset when I got that. I don't agree with it. I mean, I know he's got to kind of shake it up, but man, it just felt like fake news, man. It just felt like a lot of fake news. I thought I had a decent team. I mean, I don't know what the algorithm is for fantasy pros, but I was what, 5?
For 2020, you are now number 6.
6. Oh, I think it was 5 last week. Either way, that's still a playoff spot. Like I said, I don't know what the algorithm is, but I'm totally okay with that. I think he gave me a couple bad shakes for bye weeks. I mean, that's just a bye week in general. I mean, I look at the rosters and stuff like that, and I guess maybe I don't see it. I think it was week 7. Yeah, week 7 I had Tannenhill, Taylor, Hilton, and somebody else out, and like that to me is just like a bye week. And I think the week I had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill out are tough, but I'm playing
10,
not. Yeah, and like that sucks, but I mean it's gonna happen. Like you're gonna have a bye week, and I'd personally rather play the bad teams that week because at least I have a shot at it. I mean, I don't know. I hear what Tom's saying. I just don't agree with it.
You mentioned that to me, and I agree with you. I think Tom is just trying to like not give the answers that everybody's going to be
not go all chalk with everything.
Yeah,
but he's going after a fellow Greek, and honestly,
that's pretty accurate for Greek history.
Trust me. He's from Athens. I'm from Arcadia, so technically we had beef with each other way back in the day. So yeah, no, I mean I think it's also very, very early, all joking aside, to kind of be like have like I'm going to tell you how many games people are going to win, especially because of all, hey, who's going to sit out, who's actually going to play, who's going to whatever. But I did do a power ranking myself, actually, so I'm going to start it. Not winning a game is Tom because I'm going to murder every one of his players before week 1. I mean, I think he's going to have some trouble. I mean, even Anthony might beat him, or Alex might beat him. I don't know. Hotch might beat him. Who knows? But I will murder every one of his players. So and then everybody else after that is going to be like 8-8. So, at that point. But the main thing is no, I'm joking, but I don't know. I feel like I have to defend myself a little bit. I thought I built a decent team. I'm not completely there yet. I think there's some work to be done, but
well, sure. And after you lost a big cornerstone piece of your team, Marquise Goodwin.
Yeah, I'm still just shook up just about it, like a paint can, just shook up. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a fair assessment to think I'm gonna have trouble those weeks, but at the same time too, like I could have Tyreek Hill go down in week 2, and that's gonna completely change everything to begin with. So yeah, I mean, I see what he's trying to do. I don't agree. Hey, man, it's just he's canceled from the Olympiacos fan club, and whatever. Listen. I don't agree with it, but hey, Tom, I appreciate you putting in the effort to do it. I will say that.
Who's gonna tell his papu the bad news?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did. was not happy. But yeah, thanks for letting me air my grievances on air. But all joking aside, I do appreciate Tom taking the time out of his day to do things like that. I think that is a cool, interesting dynamic to this league that maybe other leagues probably don't have. So that's pretty cool. So thank you, although I don't agree with it, but thank you for doing it.
All right, well, thanks, Dennis, and we'll see you later. And
Yeah, see you.
Head out.
well, I guess that pretty much sums up some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes after Dennis watched that episode.
It was tough, man. And I'm a diehard listener, too. I think he did it because he knows I watch this podcast all the
I
time.
mean, yeah, you could have done it to Nick, and no one would have ever done it.
Yeah, he probably should have did it to Nick. That was the thing that made me mad because he was like, and then Nick's above him. I'm like, yo, come on. I was like, at least let me finish in front of Nick. I was like, it's all I care about in life.
I think you still beat a couple teams that you'd want to beat, though. Like, you still beat Anthony, I think, and I still think you beat Skylar, maybe. So I remember him reading it off and me just going, thank God. So.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I don't know. I think Lucho, I said it to you. I mean, I'd like to pick your brain about it, but would you rather play the bad teams on those bye weeks? I mean,
100% would.
I feel like that's a benefit. Like, if you're going to have a shitty week like that, I mean, yeah, if you lose to, I think he had me losing to Anthony. I think it was Hotspur one week, those 2 bad weeks. Like, I think I'd rather do that than, like, go up against one of you guys and, like, pretty much be like, all right, so there's no shot. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a game of percentages, and in that way you're maximizing your percentages.
Right. Yeah, no,
or at least you're minimizing the difference, I should say.
I'd rather have a chance against a bad team than no chance against a good team. I mean, that makes any sense. Which is
well,
true.
I mean, you don't have any chance against us, but.
All right, I'm gonna head out.
All right, well, moving on to our next segment here. I don't think Joey said this himself. I think Lucho might have said Joey wants to hear some more lists where he's not in the top 5 because of something with Dynasty. But I do have my own version of Dynasty Power Rankings taken from Fantasy Pros and adjusted for future draft picks. Just so everyone
what's your algorithm?
just so everyone knows, there was not much work in this. It was literally I took the list from Fantasy Pros and I just looked at the draft picks, and if you had some more draft picks, I pushed you up a little bit. If you didn't have as many, I pushed you down a little bit.
No, and
let the pandering begin.
But my list makes sense to me. So I'm gonna start from the bottom.
That's what the name of this podcast should be, is My List Makes Sense to Me.
My list does make sense. But no, starting at the bottom, number 12, Kyle. Makes perfect sense. Team's not very good right now. Okay, sure, you got some pieces that are great, like CeeDee Lamb.
Any picks? Nope.
And Joe Burrow, but you have no picks. You traded away all your own picks. I don't know what you're doing. We did have the Kyle Defend Yourself episode, which I don't think we gave him. We didn't give him. Yeah, it was hysterical. It was so funny that I didn't get to ask him the hard-hitting questions I wanted to ask.
No,
him.
You guys gave him softballs. You guys didn't even.
Well,
that was a poor interview.
Well, I was cooking dinner. I was cooking dinner the entire time. I'm like, I just want to hear the Finley thing. I just want to hear the Finley thing. And then nobody said anything. And he's like, okay, well, the Finley thing was kind of dumb. And you guys were like, it's okay, Kyle, no problem. I was just like, what?
But like I said, I'm not going to go too much in detail. We've been doing this for months now.
Yeah.
I just don't really get what you're doing. Number 11, I have Skylar. Again, don't really understand what you're doing. You have no depth. You have a couple aging vets on your team like Deshaun Jackson, and you're still trading away other players. You're also trading away tons of your picks for a quarterback, which they might not even start this year in Tua. So your team's a little weak. It's really on the edge. Like, maybe you could compete this year if everything goes right. But if everything does not go right, it's going to be tough to bounce back. I know you traded for a couple picks when you traded Julio Jones, John Brown away. But those picks are also not that great. It's not like having your own possible top 5 pick. You just have probably a lower first round pick.
I've proven that John Brown is worth a first round pick. Yeah.
So again, don't really like your long-term outlook here. So I pushed him down to 11. I actually pushed Kyle down too because he was at number 11. Sky was at number 10. In my list, number 10, I have Anthony. Anthony's team shows some promise to me for Dynasty. He does have a ton of picks. I know that. I don't have the exact
almost
number.
almost too many. I think he has like
Yeah.
7 or 8. I think.
But he also has a lot of guys on his team that he really doesn't need. Vance McDonald, Ryan Griffin, Darren Fells, Nick Boyle. Those are just the tight ends. I could keep going on and on. So,
Other positions.
I could keep going on. There's guys on his
Darren
team.
Fells
that,
like 36.
yeah, and then he has a bunch of running backs that are either
Le'Veon
almost-
Bell.
Le'Veon Bell's old, Peyton Barber probably irrelevant now, Giovanni Bernard's coming near the end, Justin Jackson might have got replaced. There's like guys like DeAndre Washington. I don't think he's going to really do much of anything this year. There's guys like that will cycle out pretty quickly, and they'll be able to get replaced by some of these picks. But with all those picks, you might want to trade some away closer to the draft when you kind of get an idea of certain targets you want. Move up in the draft for certain guys you want. Maybe move to future years if you don't like something. Maybe trade for a veteran you like, things like that. But I still like your team outlook a little better than both Scott and Kyle because you do have so many picks, and you still have some valuable pieces on your team, like Deshaun Watson, like Juju Smith-Schuster. You know, there's a couple other guys on the team. I'm not gonna keep going.
I think Zach Moss and LaMichael Pirine are fine lotto tickets too.
Yeah. So number 9, also moving down a spot, is Nick. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. All right, Nick, yeah, you got a solid team. It might make the playoffs, it might not, but you have all your draft picks, so sure, you're going to have a couple mid-round picks to work with, but, you know, that's not going to get you anywhere. You're just going to be this middling fringe playoff team for the rest of eternity at this rate. So I don't even like to keep you too high up in the list because of that. So you get pushed down to number 9 there. But again, like number 9 long-term outlook doesn't mean you're not going to be a fringe playoff team forever.
His draft strategy is also kind of strange, like drafting Cole Kmet.
Well, it's his boy.
Yeah, no, but anyway.
I mean, at least he took Judy. That was at least like
Yeah,
for
no,
his team
I
especially,
agree.
it made sense.
I
Although
agree.
I always think you got to go best player available, but you know, he doesn't need a running back. Jerry Judy kind of fell at the time.
No, I think it's just like the Jalen Hurts and then
Hurts
Cole Kmet.
Might
Not
look
not
a
as
little
high on
more
him as other-
prescient now.
Well, yeah, if it depending, yes, but that's just my critique. So
Now number 8. I'm sorry, but Lucho, I have you at number 8 for long.
oh no,
I have you number 8 for long-term outlook. Now, let me tell you
Racist.
what. The only
Whoa.
reason why you went down to number 8 from number 5 on Dynasty Pro rankings is because all the people that jumped you all were moved because they have a bunch of draft picks.
Oh, okay.
Also, you're missing picks. I can't find your team on here, but yeah, you have 3 seconds, which is great, but you have no first this year, no first next year. So I had to move you down a little bit just because of that. Once you get to this point, I think this is a big tier break from between you and Nick. Once you get to this point, everyone gets really close in terms of if I had to give a score. But yeah, I do have you at number 8.
Okay. Well, I'll just go fuck myself.
just next week on the podcast, we'll open the show with you defending yourself. So
Yeah.
it'll be.
Now, this was the one that was tough for me. I don't know. Maybe if you ask me in about 20 minutes, I might change my mind. But I have Alex at number 7. Really, the only reason for that is he has 3 first-round picks in 2021. So I think his team
Yes,
can get right
3.
back on track quickly. He also has an extra second in 2022.
Which is basically a first, kind of, because it's Kyle's.
Yes, it is Kyle's. So
Because I gave it to him.
Yep. So, and his team still has solid pieces on it, like Cortland Sutton is on his team. He's still got some young guys in Baker Mayfield. Even say what you want about him, but still young. He drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That should be a good player for a while, attached to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And then has a tight end like Irv Smith, and even Dawson Knox is solid there. So, I think his team has potential, and those 3 firsts will really help going into next year. Like I said, I have him at 7. It's pretty much a virtual tie between you and him, Alex, at 7 and 8. So, number 6, Dennis, I have you there. You're actually number 7 on the Dynasty Pro rankings, but you also have a good amount of picks coming up in the next 2 years. So let me see if I can find your team on this list really quick. Yeah, you still only have 1 first and 1 second, 1 first in both years, 21 and 22. 1 for both years, not 1 total. So I didn't move you too much, but you do have an extra second in 21, an extra fourth in 21, and then an extra second, third, and fourth in 22. So I pushed you up a little bit there. that's really
Appreciate
all
you.
there is to say. Same thing. Your team has some solid pieces on it. There's guys that aren't going anywhere, like Tyreek Hill and Daniel Jones. We still might have to see something with, but I can't find your team on this list. So now I'm Nick Chubb. Guys like that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. You drafted Justin Jefferson. That's a good pick. He'll be around for a while. Traded for Travis Kelce as well. He'll be a force for next
Still a work in progress. We're still getting there.
That's what I mean. Like I said, number 6. And like I was saying before that too, everyone's very close.
Still building this house. Still
Everything-
rebuilding this house after Hurricane Deej passed through.
Yeah.
Deej.
The boomer sooner came through. Idiot.
I did notice that you do still have a couple players on your squad that maybe won't last, like Willie Snead and
Yeah, I'm just at this point, like when I have to make the cuts, I'll make the cuts. Like I'm not gonna drop somebody just because right now. There's no
yeah,
reason
sure.
to.
And Jason Witten,
Did he retire or something?
No, he's on
back.
Oakland.
Yeah, no, it says like
Vegas.
he's not. It says he's not on a team like right now on the thing the other day. I don't know if that was just like
Oh no, it's on there right now. Maybe it was just
yeah, I mean whatever. I figure at this point, like just when it comes time to cut, I'm gonna cut. Like Marquise Goodwin is gone, so it's whatever. It doesn't matter to me.
All right, number 5, I have Tom. Tom didn't move too much because he actually has 3 first-round picks over the next 2 years, but then he has 2 thirds, so he's missing his seconds. Got the extra first. His team is solid. I didn't want to really. I pushed him down one spot because one team jumped him, but I didn't really want to move him much at all anywhere. I mean, we talked about this plenty. I don't even need to go over on his team. Number 4, I have Phil. Phil, I moved down a little bit because he traded away some picks as well. So Phil, where is he on here? He doesn't have a first next year, doesn't have a third next year, but then he has all his picks in 22. So again, Phil's he's actually number 3 on the Fantasy Pros Dynasty rank. So again, I didn't really move him too much besides the one guy that jumped him. I do like Phil's team. I like what he did. He has a couple young rookie running backs on his squad that we'll see if they develop into something or not. Their wide receivers made some big moves, getting Odell Beckham, Allen Robinson. So we'll see what happens there.
I'm surprised.
Number 3.
I'm surprised he's that high up on the list, but
Yeah, he's actually got a good score too.
Yeah, I'm
so
not, personally.
He's got an 88, which is pretty good because if we take the gap from him to you, Dennis, at number 7, you're a 71. So that's actually a pretty big gap between the two of you.
I think it's probably because he has Dak too. I think Dak is probably.
Well, he made some moves for these. He made more moves than you did, and he got some of these highly coveted running backs for Dynasty.
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah,
that
I
kind
think
of
about that.
changed.
I don't value those guys as much as I think Dynasty.
Sure, and if you actually want to look at this, I'll click on this. Yeah, he's quarterback and his flex position, so his super flex as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Is what really brings it up. And then with your team, they don't like your quarterback situation. Makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And then you're just the opposite. Your tight ends and running backs are strong, wide receivers are average, but quarterback and flex is a little weak. And
Yeah,
it makes
okay.
sense. Super flex, same deal there. They just don't really like the quarterback.
I agree. Fair enough. Okay.
All right, number 3, I have Joey. Joey on the Fantasy Pros Dynasty rankings is number 6, but I moved him up a lot because of this complete, highway
His
robbery.
complete draft dominance.
Yeah, so he's got 2 firsts next year, 2 thirds next year, 2 fourths, 3 firsts, and then his second, third, and fourth in 22.
Jeez.
3 firsts? Did I say fourths? I might have said fourths. I don't know.
It's just law of averages at that point. Like,
Yeah, so and
You're bound to
his
hit
team-
on. You're gonna hit on.
You throw enough
Something.
darts.
well, even if he wanted to, like, if he doesn't, he's probably not going to finish in last. But like, if you're somebody like Kyle who finishes in first, and Kyle's like, hey, or whoever, like Tom who has Kyle's pick, or if Anthony gets worse, then Joey could be like, hey, I need Trevor Lawrence. I can give you these 3 first-round picks, and he still has first-round picks to like give away. Dude, he's in like a great position.
Yeah, and the thing is, so he has Skylar's first, and we're all projecting Skylar not to be that great. So
Well, yes, of course,
he's gonna
yeah.
have 2, at least his own and Skylar's will be top half, and then same thing in 2022. Maybe his won't be top half anymore, but Skylar's might.
Right.
And then he has mine, which again, that might be one of the ones. we
Probably
lose.
not. Yeah, that's true.
but his team is just young too. He's got so many guys that are going to stick around. Whether you're talking about his quarterbacks of Sam Darnold, Dwayne Haskins, I mean, again, law of averages. Maybe they don't both work out, but he also has Gardner Minshew, Jarrett Stidham now as a backup. But someone out of those four,
is he?
Someone out of those four is going to be a long-term solution, I think. And then you still have Russell Wilson, who's only 31, so he'll be around for a while.
Right.
Also, traded.
Or is he?
Traded for Ronald Jones, has Darius Geis, drafted Antonio Gibson. You know, still has.
I think his
CMC,
running back
with a new
situation is
contract.
like sneaky good too. Because
Yep.
I think like once
has
again,
young guys at wide receiver,
law of
Bryce
averages.
Campbell,
Yeah.
Kenny Galladay, Devin Duvernay, KJ Hamler, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin, Denzel Mims. Like and then Mike Gesicki at tight end. He's so young everywhere. So I really like the long-term outlook. Just eventually it has to come together. Can't stay young forever. Can't keep trading for picks. Can't keep getting younger. Not that he's doing that, but just for future reference.
I also liked him just acknowledging the fact that it's like, well, I'm not great, so I'm just going to totally sell the farm, because I don't know if a lot of people would have done that. Like, I don't even know if I had the opportunity to get to it, like if I would have done what he did. Like,
It's
I think,
tough. It's hard to do, just mentally. And
Yeah,
then number 2 and number 1, I didn't change. Number 2 is me. I moved myself. Well, Mike, you're at number 1, obviously now. I moved us both down a little bit.
way to ruin it.
I moved us both down a little bit. I don't have any first-round picks next year. I have Anthony second. I don't have a first-round pick in 2022 either. So, but based on the score, it wasn't enough to fall all the way down below some of these other teams, because I moved everyone in the top 6 down at least a little bit, and the only person that went up was Joey. So Joey moving up didn't pass me, but it's close actually between us two. And then Bruce, yeah, you're still number 1 at the top. You're missing, I think you're first next year, right? Yeah, an extra third.
For Thielen.
That's all I.
And then you have all your picks in 22. So you didn't move down much, but I did move you down a tiny bit just because of that for a long-term outlook. But kept you at number 1, so congrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's your trophy.
So quick roundup again, just starting from the top. It's Bruce, me, Joey, Phil, Tom, Dennis, Alex, Lucho, Nick, Anthony, Skylar, and Kyle.
I can't say I
Those
disagree.
are some good rankings.
I can't say I disagree
For
with
how
that,
little
Aaron.
work I did and thinking of this stuff on the fly as I'm.
So that's just to keep this running gag going. So that's just how the season's going to end, right? We're totally just.
Yeah.
Well,
Why are we doing this?
If we look 10 years down the road,
Right.
that's gonna who's done the best. So you might as well just give tons of money to Bruce, give a bunch of second place prizes to me.
Can't wait to still be doing
Joey
this
will get a little
podcast
bit in
my
there.
40s.
Maybe Phil and Tom will jump in every once in a while.
I'm just going to be painfully average throughout
Yeah.
the entire, just painfully average.
I just had a out of body experience when you said doing this podcast in my 40s.
I just let it go. I feel like I got stabbed in the heart a bit,
Yeah.
but like, yeah.
Only because you said 10 years from now. Ooh.
Now, something that surprised me, I want to take note of that I just clicked on, surprised me right now, not while I was doing this. But Lucho, I clicked on your team, and they do not like your long-term outlook at running back.
That's not surprising.
Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, and Devin Singletary. They actually have Devin Singletary in your super flex, so they don't like your.
They haven't
QB
adjusted
outlook
Cam's rank. Or they're aggregating like old rankings probably.
Other
Other than that,
it's based on whatever is currently. I don't know how they've updated their dynasty.
I think it still shows Cam on some of the sites as being for the Panthers.
Well,
still.
no. It's for 2020. Cam is in a Superflex. It's just for Dynasty.
okay.
You might not think,
Oh, okay.
or no one's confident enough to rank him high because
Right.
it's still just.
Oh.
So
yeah.
it's,
If this is like more than 2 years, absolutely.
that it is. It's based
Yeah.
on people's dynasty rankings, which usually is about 3 years out. I think most
Yeah.
people rank. So
Interesting.
See,
Yeah.
that's what's surprising to me is a team like I think Joey on a longer term is going to be good, but only a 3-year turnaround. I don't know if it can lift him that high.
well, his team is only 6 on Fantasy Pros, so it makes sense. It's just because the draft picks and me kind of adjusting things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really like his running backs because he has CMC. Obviously, he's still the number 1 running back for Dynasty. And then Darius Geis, they actually like.
Everybody's
a little
I
bit.
feel like a
Surprised.
lot of people are very high on Geis.
And then Ronald Jones, even they kind of like. So
I
and then
mean,
it's-
he's healthy again, but we're doing this again. Oh, Darius Geis is healthy. Oh,
hey,
and
man,
then
like
his quarterbacks between Russell Wilson and Sam Darnold are still ranked pretty decently high.
How long is Sam Darnold going to get by on eternally being 23?
So the thing, if Adam Gase gets fired this year, Sam Darnold's going to get a pass on this year,
Well, yeah, but then he has to
Yeah.
learn a whole new offense. You have the unknowns, of
and then he'll
another
probably get a
coach.
pass on next year.
I don't see
Can-
Gase leaving this year.
can
Yeah,
we
no
can
shot.
we kind of segue now that this
Yeah.
has been brought up? It's not. I mean, it is fantasy related in terms of just our super flex values, but I guess to put it in terms of real life contracts. So we just saw. I mean, I forget if we even discussed it on this podcast or if it came out after the big Mahomes contract. I feel like we mentioned it already. You know, whatever. Everyone knows about it. The $500 million, whatever.
New
whatever deal.
part owner of the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes.
that our direct deposit hits and we can pay a bill. His direct deposit hit and he bought the fucking Royals.
Yeah, that's just a bill, bro.
It counts as a bill now.
Shit.
Anything's a bill, man.
What's if you're running, let's say an actual franchise. Now, obviously, I feel like the life of the quarterback is okay. Gets drafted, plays his rookie contract. Say it's a first round pick, so he plays the 4 years. They choose his option, and then it comes time to sign. What's your line on whether? Because at this point, you're giving these what could be mediocre quarterbacks $30-35 million a year. And it's that argument of, can we find somebody better, or do we just go with this guy? And is there like a line you would draw if you're owning a franchise? Like I feel like Dak Prescott's a good example. Maybe on the Cowboys he's good, but if you're some other team and Dak hits free agency, are you running after him to give him $40 million a year? Like
Okay,
you're
you're asking two different questions there, so I'm going to give you a couple different perspectives. One, I think QBs have less leeway than they did 5 years ago because the QB market is just better than it was. So you just saw it with Cam how long it took for him to sign.
Better.
We just saw Jameis and Andy Dalton take backup deals. You know, there's things like that where you might have thought of re-signing guys before, but I guess with Jameis specifically, you reach the end of that rookie deal, you might not keep him around anymore. That's going to hurt Sam Darnold because I don't think he's shown enough to get re-signed. Now,
I think Dak Prescott was just my example thrown out there, is that maybe it works for one team. I was trying to stay on the same track.
It's the most
That's why
similar
I see,
situation.
like
now, the difference there is there hasn't been a QB of Dak's a quality QB like Dak hitting the free agent market maybe ever, with not only his talent but his youth. I think
Definitely you.
I think a lot of teams would be running after Dak, even if maybe it doesn't. Some people might not think he works on every team, but I think any team that needs a QB would immediately be running after Dak.
How many teams realistically need a QB though? Because I mean, I think it's like I was saying before with like the QB bubble. Like, I don't know how many teams even this year who drafted. I mean, obviously Cincinnati did, and then I believe in Miami really did too. Like even the Chargers, like if they wanted to go with Taylor, like they could have. And if they wanted to have signed like somebody like Cam or something at the end of the year, they could have done that too. But now, I mean, with these new drafts coming in, and you don't know who's going to pan out or not, but I do think just off of name alone, somebody's going to give Dak Prescott a big deal.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a team like Washington, especially in division.
Yeah, and I mean, Dwayne Haskins, would they give up on him? Probably not.
Well, we got to see what happens this year.
Yeah, but I think Jameis Winston is a perfect example of that because I mean, if the quarterback market isn't as good as it is, I don't think Tampa lets him walk, regardless of him throwing all those picks. He still had a ton of TDs. And now he's on a backup deal and maybe is the heir apparent to Drew Brees. Who knows?
But I don't even know about that. Like we're saying, the QB
exactly. Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe they get Dak. You know, if he wants.
A lot of people were saying that it's going to affect the contracts negatively for those guys, and I don't know if I see that because I look at a guy like Tannehill that just kind of made out with a lot of money, and I don't think anybody would say Ryan Tannehill was
well, if you're successful and already proven in that system to work, I think it's
invaluable. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Look what they did. They signed Derrick Henry too because it's working.
I just think Sam Darnold is such an interesting situation because I love the player, but he's just been in so many bad positions. But
And
at what point do you just go, it's not working? You know what I mean? Like it's not working.
They're a
That's
team
what
that
it
can
is.
get
They're
Dak.
gonna
You
have,
know,
like,
there's-
this was year 2. Wait, this was year 2 for Darnold this past year, or he's
Yes.
going into year 3?
He's going into year 3.
So he has 3 seasons, his last 2, and then I'm assuming they'll pick up the 5th-year option because it's obviously cheaper. And I know with franchise tags and all this, you can drag it out a couple more years if they sign. But someone like Darnold, when the time comes in 3 years, what's the average quarterback value going to be? And do you pay someone like a Darnold that, or a lot of these teams? And then how many times do you look at, like, do you get stuck with like a Nick Foles where that contract just becomes this albatross?
By the time a guy like Darnold is up, I don't think he gets signed at this rate.
Okay.
Because this is his 3rd year. He has another year after this, and then they could still exercise the 5th year.
Right. And
so
and I think what my whole reasoning and that, with the whole like Dennis said, like the bubble is, do you sign a guy like that because you're like, well, we can't find any better immediately, so fuck it, pay him, or do we just continue this search for a quarterback? Because I'd argue that there's decent quarterbacks, but I don't think there's very many really good quarterbacks in the league that are okay. If we have this guy, we're a contender. I think there's maybe 5 quarterbacks in that level.
I just think the top tier is so much higher than like the mean. I think there's very few really bad, and I think there's very few really good, and I think the rest are just like in this.
It's
weird,
mediocre.
Like, yeah, because I mean, you obviously have your Lamar Jacksons, and then I think Patrick Mahomes is kind of on his own type of thing, and then you have like Lamar Jackson, your Drew Brees. I'd even put.
The guy who just bought a baseball team is on his own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's just paying bills, bro. Nothing big. But yeah, I think, and then. I mean, realistically, like, who are the really bad quarterbacks in the league? I mean,
if we go through the teams,
Mitch Trubisky, Josh Allen.
Yeah, if we go through the teams, who could use a quarterback like Dak, especially? San Francisco, yes.
But
Seattle,
I don't think they would replace him though for what they
think they would.
For what they want him to do. I don't think they would.
But it's I think it's more. I think it's more. Because if you have a good team and a quarterback that might be maybe a little downgraded from Garoppolo, like what's Garoppolo making? $20 million a year, $25 million a year on his contract. If you can find a guy that makes half that, then you can spread that money around. I feel
they already have him on their roster. So.
Yeah, but if it's not broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Nick
You know what I mean?
No.
Like, yeah, it wouldn't.
Right. Yeah, right.
I think you're pushing your luck there. I think like somebody like a Teddy Bridgewater situation where you're like, okay, but we're not in love with this guy. Like, I think that's more of a like, all right, let's go
like a lot of
else. Yeah.
Like, at what point could a team strategy be, hey, let's go this short term route with some of these journeyman guys if you have a good players around and the quarterback's not necessarily great. Why pay someone $20 million? Well, I know Bridgewater. I know that the problem is that's like the average. I don't know. It's a weird discussion, but I think the ultimate purpose is someone like Mahomes to sign a 10-year contract. That $50 million might be worth. Mahomes might be worth $75 million in 5 years if he keeps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always going to be dictated by the market too, because then, like you said, what if Dak goes to, let's just say all these journeyman guys are getting low money, and then Dak just decides like, okay, cool, I'm going to go be a free agent now. Then Washington's like, oh, you want the record amount of money? No problem. And then that just jacks up the market
and I'm surprised that Dallas isn't just paying him as much as I don't think Dak's like a $40 million a year player, but I feel like in a few years, he might be worth more, and Dallas might end up saving money. And maybe it's different if there was no pandemic, the cap wouldn't be affected, and there's just a million issues.
Well, Dallas is also paying that. I think their offensive line and Zeke and then they're paying
Mark Cooper too.
It's paying them a lot of money too. So they may have to. Like, I don't know. But like, it's also very telling with the Dallas Cowboys to have offered, I think, $100 million guaranteed. Dak be like, nope. And then in the last final hour, Dak was like, yeah, I'll do it. And they were like, I don't think so now. So I don't know. It's just, it is interesting because I think people think it's going to affect it inversely, but I just think it's going to be dependent on who it is and what the situation is, because with desperation comes
it's so, and again, and for something like Superflex, if we go down the line of, all right, someone like we said, Sam Darnold as an example, he's going to go along starting for the next couple of years, but if he just ultimately doesn't pan out and the Jets don't re-sign him, what does he end up becoming another just dud in our league, and now there's just no value to be had for him? And are there a lot of guys like that?
Sam Darnold's going to be a good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Look at Jameis's value now; it's almost nothing.
Yeah, Jameson's like the perfect, because because interceptions aren't crazy like against you in fantasy.
No, but if you throw them in real life at his rate, that's going to affect.
Yeah, that's where the disconnect of fantasy and actual like winning.
I don't understand how a record-setting quarterback could get a backup deal.
He can't see. That's kind of
the man got LASIK surgery.
Now. He can see now.
I think Darnold is going to be a good, kind of separated from this conversation a little bit. I think he's going to be a good case study for how badly can poor coaching fuck up a prospect.
Yeah, I agree with that. Big time. Because it's a lot about situation, like just in general with guys too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's probably the most talented, but is he really going to a situation that is beneficial to him? Who knows?
I'd argue Tua is in the best situation based on just I like Brian Flores a lot.
I mean, even a guy like Baker has struggled mightily. I think and that has a lot to do with coaching too. But like the Browns have just been an absolute graveyard of quarterbacks for however many years now, and for Baker to even be like, oh, he's going to be really good. Looks like he's panning out. It speaks volumes to like how an uphill battle that he's had. And I think Darnold has been possibly like the worst situation he could have possibly been in, because now if you get 30 days at the end of the year, that's now how many different systems, how many different coaches.
And something big too is if a QB doesn't really break out in the first 3 years, it's almost like less than 1% of a chance of them breaking out after that.
Which is a combination of the investment that a team is going to put into them and just generally.
Like I get he's young. But you have to show something eventually.
Yeah, I'm a very big proponent of you either have it or you don't, like that type of deal. Like even if it's not all there yet, like you see flashes. Like that's why I like Daniel Jones as much as I do. Like he there's still things he needs to polish, but like you can just see like, okay, it's there. He has that it factor to him type of deal. Like you see that with Mahomes when he came in right away. You're like, okay, cool. Like this guy.
Yeah, Daniel Jones just doesn't like holding on to the ball.
Yeah, I know. He's Patrick Mahomes has it.
Baseball team? Yeah, he's got it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that.
Do, really quick, two things. One, when Denny, you said he either has it or he doesn't, I just imagined you as like a radio or like a YouTube host with like a little stamp that goes, not it. Two, Sape, you mentioned that we have never seen a combination of talent and youth enter free agency in quarterback before, and I would say Drew Brees is the comparable situation.
I still feel like when Drew Brees...
that was 2006, 5?
2005-6, yeah.
I still feel like Drew Brees was like not super young, but like wasn't.
He was the same age.
Was he really?
He's 40 now, so 14 years ago he's 26.
You know what? It's probably just because it was so long ago, and like he had been around for a little bit. I think he was 35 then. Yeah, Drew Brees has been middle-aged his entire life, so it doesn't really matter to me. But sure,
he has the same receding hairline as when he was a boy.
Yeah, me too.
How old was speaking of Drew Brees and that whole Nick Saban, how old was Dante Culpepper that year? Was he also technically talented and young?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because you figure that was the same year, and Nick Saban took the wrong guy.
Perusing a list, and the only other one I saw that was even close to comparable was Randall Cunningham.
I don't think Drew Brees really had the notability that like a
out of San Diego.
Well, he was coming off the brutal the shoulder, the bad.
Yeah,
shoulder
they also
injury,
that's true. They also thought he wasn't going to be.
He also
that's the
was
mitigating factor.
He was also behind that offense with LaDainian Tomlinson and stuff too, and with
Well, I
Marty
mean, Philip
Schottenheimer.
Rivers is
people-
already there. So.
People are
With Marty
saying
Schottenheimer,
people are
too.
saying the same thing with Dak now. He's
Yeah, you know,
behind
that's a good comparison.
world class offensive line with a really good running back, Ohio State, and whoa,
Yes.
you know, it's the same concept. Obviously, like you said, with the shoulder, and we're not sure he really had the same notability, but without risking relitigating it, I think it's a pretty comparable situation.
What do you think, though? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I've personally asked you. Like, what do you think the Cowboys should do?
I think Jerry Jones plays hardball because it's the only way he can get his dick hard anymore.
I don't even think that's possible, but that's neither here nor there at this point.
it's like a deflated clown balloon. No,
What do you-
I think they. I think.
What do you
they
think the
should have
bottom
done deal.
dollar is? What do you think the bottom dollar is for
Bottom
like,
dollar,
what-
I would pay 30. I would rather take 36, maybe 37, because I do think, even with the influx of quarterback talent, the changing landscape of the NFL means that Dak's just getting more valuable because he's good in play action, he's good on the run, he can play in this new school kind of system that's been in the NFL for
36.
the past like decade.
36 and 37 puts him as the second highest paid QB in the league. So
Yeah.
just $1 million or $2 million over Russell Wilson. And it's pretty easy for someone to say, you're not Mahomes. We're not giving you Mahomes money.
Well, no,
Because nobody is.
no.
So
Andrew
He owns a
Luck was-
baseball team.
But that's,
Yeah.
that's where I
Dak
think
can
that's
own
where,
Dak can own
Mahomes,
like
yeah.
Dallas FC.
I don't know, but yeah, no, that's I also think too. It's like the just knowing what you have type of deal as opposed to like starting the process all over again. I think that's like invaluable too.
And that's a self-attribution error that I think everybody, no matter what you do, everybody engages in. That you think that you're going to be, you know, the pitfalls now, and you're more confident in your evaluation and decision making than is reality.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, by the way, Dennis, Joey Bosa is now the highest paid non-quarterback in the league.
Mm-hmm. He was
12th
waiting
highest
for
paid player.
Miles Garrett to get signed.
Miles Garrett.
And
Yeah,
he's,
waiting for
Miles
Myles
Garrett had the record for a day.
Yeah.
I think he's worth it though too. I mean, it's just
I think so, too.
unrelated, but I think
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah, he's him and Matt Stafford getting paid the same, number 12.
Jeez, premier positions.
And
We
then
need to be talking
Brady's
about-
14.
Are we going to be talking about Pat Mahomes like we talk his contract like we talk about Matt Stafford's contract in 9 years,
No.
8 years?
No, because at least at the time, when Matt Stafford gets a big contract, it was like this guy didn't win a playoff game. Mahomes won the fucking Super Bowl. Like
He-
that's, I think.
Were you
yes.
there?
I mean,
Wrong.
I just, but like honestly, Matt Stafford's a perfect example for this. Like Stafford is very good, is that, but it seems like I guess he's just not good enough, or is that the Lions have always lacked enough talent?
Detroit has been just
His
a
team is
graveyard for
garbage.
anything.
But it's
I mean,
just like all that money, you know. It's just like I feel like quarterbacks fall in, and it's not even to
That's-
overrate Matt Stafford. Maybe on a different team he's more successful,
Oh yeah.
but I just feel like teams fall into this trap of, well, he's here, so let's just spend the money. But like whether the team's not necessarily good or like what have you, I just feel like there's just always factors of, hey, should we just start the fuck over and not spend, especially now where these average quarterbacks go for $20-25 million.
Yeah, but then you
Yeah.
get stuck in a situation where you're looking for a QB and nothing ever shows up. You know, then you get
Or you have Ryan Tannehill fall into your lap.
look. We were just talking
Right.
about Darnold. Like, okay, maybe you just spent the 3rd overall pick on Darnold like a couple of years ago, and it hasn't done anything for your team. So
He's
then
the
you're stuck.
only
I'd rather have Matt Stafford than Darnold.
He's the only first round
That was
picks from the past like 6
team.
years still on that team.
Yeah,
yeah, I also think too, like you were saying with the Stafford thing, like I think it's better to have a guy like that you trust on a long-term contract. And obviously that play is going to dip. But like, look at like a guy like what happened with like Eli Manning. Like it was just like he hung around, and then like it kind of afforded the Giants to go out and get Daniel Jones and like not have to rush him in right away. Kind of like what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith. It's a little different, but I almost don't mind locking the quarterback up if you're if you're that confident in him, and he's like shown the track record, I think you get into problems when you give people the money that like aren't necessarily people who should get it, like in free agency and stuff like that. Like I would be hesitant to give Dak the money, not because of his talent, but just because of like it's going to be at a premium in free agency. Unless I was the Cowboys, I think I would have no problem doing that.
I really think a lot of it just comes down to, like I said, self-attribution error, because they think that they can do at least the same or not better, because the last two really good starting quarterbacks they've had have been low picks, if not free, undrafted. And I also think if the pandemic wasn't happening, he probably would have been signed.
Yeah.
Probably to the AAV that I mentioned.
I'm still surprised that he didn't at this point, but it is what it is. I think it's just interesting because the quarterback values. I don't see it going down anytime soon. That's why I think someone like Pat Mahomes might be worth $75 million in 5 years. You know,
But
like just
especially if the cap keeps going up. Yeah.
Well, no, but that's what I was going to bring up. It might. It's not going up now.
if it goes the other way. Yeah,
So-
but I feel
mean,
like
it's already.
I think
agreed to
this
that
is
it's going
temporary.
I mean,
It is,
but it's
but
Like,
temporary. But
whether
for
it
the length
takes-
of a contract you give, so
right.
Mhm.
If you take the last big pandemic in 1918, in 2 years they considered it done. So you figure even if in 2 years when things get back
Dude,
to normal,
don't say that, please.
yeah.
just listen.
Stop.
I'm just taking the worst. I'm taking the worst case scenario of
When we're in our 40s and if we're still doing this podcast and the pandemic's done.
when people have forgotten
And
the
then
warmth of another human being.
I was going to
Didn't
say
he take percentage though of the salary cap too? Like he's like,
I didn't think so.
I thought it was like
Mahomes, no,
something
it's
to do with the
set-
percentage.
They thought it was
so.
going to happen,
People
but it
were
ended up
for
not
it.
happening.
Which
I feel like
Yeah.
there's
would
no
make sense.
well that would have been a good deal for in 5 years, but I think
If
for
Mahomes
this year,
can't get a percentage of the cap, no one else is going to
Nobody
win
will.
anytime soon.
No, I had
Nobody
seen
should.
that. I don't know if that was true or not.
No,
That
No,
would've
it
been-
was floated, but no, it didn't.
We can't say never, because things
It'll
like
happen
that have
one day.
happened on teams that we didn't think would happen. Like, think of Cousins getting the fully guaranteed deal.
Yeah.
Or if Dak goes to like free agency and like it's a bidding war and somebody offers a percentage. or
Like you
something.
said,
The-
yeah,
I could
it's
see
like
that
The
happening.
Browns
Washington
do
might do it.
exist. You're right. They might
Yeah,
give it to
Cleveland.
Baker.
Oh
I
no,
really do think
Cleveland
Washington-
exists.
Washington National Football Team would honestly be my guess to do that.
Or is there aptly known DC United?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the
It's-
NWLS
it's just-
team
it's-
name?
I have no idea for Washington. Bruce would
for
probably know.
Washington, I don't know. Spirit, I don't know.
The Washington Women.
All right.
If it's not that, it should be. It should be.
Um,
Kind of segues us into the pandemic then.
speaking of
How? How? Anyway, we have a
so
good
I
time
guess we've spent a good amount of time on here. Just, I mean, obviously talking about the ramifications of this pandemic and what would happen if the season's canceled, what would happen if it's paused. But I feel like with baseball showing us how easy it is to fuck up when you don't have a bubble situation and you're just letting teams travel. Looking at you, Florida.
Always Florida.
Bro, sell all your fucking Florida players now. Especially if they're young, because they're losing out.
Tom
on
Brady's pretty much immortal.
I
so
don't
I'm
think I
pretty
have any.
I don't.
I do.
I have Brady, but
Florida,
he's
Tampa.
he's literally invincible to everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's drinking TB12 water, which is like the tears of virgin.
He's walking into wrong houses and getting away with it.
It's Mike's secret
right?
stuff.
Yeah, it's like secret stuff. He is. He's fucking breaking and entering, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, Mr. Brady, sir."
Oh, sorry.
in Florida, nonetheless, where you could just be shot for doing anything. In
Somebody
Florida.
might be tripping on bath salts and eat your face for it.
It's a fact.
Man, that's a throwback.
The Washington Spirit was the team.
See, he knew it. He
did say
pretended
that.
like he didn't know. He was like, I don't know. It was in
I
Washington.
just looked
It
up.
sounded familiar, but I wasn't positive.
Fair enough.
And
But
with
so
that, Alex
what?
is done.
Oh, I guess what I want to discuss is what, like, obviously there's nothing you can do if singular games get postponed. We all know that going in that players could be positive and be out. I guess we didn't really discuss though the singular games. Like, okay, the league's moving forward, but one game is canceled, and oh no, it's Kansas City and whoever in whatever week. So now all these players are out. It's kind of like
it's so dependent on what the league is going to do,
right? And it's the NFL, so we probably don't trust whatever decision they makes. Probably going to be, it probably will be. They'll announce it on Sunday at 12:55 or something.
We can't even late injury we don't. The problem is they don't even really have. They have sort of a template for other leagues, but the problem with applying that to the NFL is these other leagues have MLB has 60 games. The NHL and NBA are only doing the playoffs. They've already had their seasons. The NFL has 17 weeks, 16 games. That's a tectonic shift.
Yeah.
I have seen that there are ideas that because the college seasons, almost every college season is getting postponed, they might be able to move games to Saturdays to accommodate like TV stuff and maybe travel, but
then you run into problems with the rest if then you try to like stagger it on other days too, because it poses a very interesting question because like you said, it seems to be because I think the MLS and the NWSL are like kind of showing you that like, hey, this bubble thing kind of does work.
Mm-hmm.
And you just look at it this way too. Like there's on an active roster, not even including coaching stuff, there's 53 people on one NFL team. How do you do a bubble?
Yep.
How do you do it? Like it's you can't get on a soapbox and be like, we need a bubble, but then like, okay, then where's your solution? Like at that
right. There is no possible. Well, like, I mean, I read that the NBA might be looking at trying a bubble again for next season, which that's going to be a whole fucking thing. Now you're talking about an 82 game schedule for them and 30 team. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do that for.
I don't think the union would go for that either because
I don't think
then
so
you
either.
have guys away from their families. You'd have to have breaks in between. It would
exactly like. I mean, well, the baseball argument is silly because I feel like the hockey and basketball players are going to be in the bubble the exact amount of time as baseball. Baseball is banging out their season in 3 months. Like football is a whole thing. Football you're talking about September potentially if you're a playoff team through January, early February. That's not feasible. You're talking spot whatever that almost 6 months, 5 months away. Like that's a lot harder to do than 2-3 months, but. I don't know. It's just I think it's gonna come down to like veteran leadership being like, don't fuck this up because we're all doing this, so just don't fuck around.
Don't be the Lou Williams of this team.
I was just gonna bring Lou Williams up too.
But those wings looked fire though.
Dude, I read that the Marlins players that got the breakout also went to an Atlanta strip club. So. Turns out Atlanta sex work is killing.
Did they really? I didn't read that. That's crazy. It's also funny to me too because it is the Marlins, a team that's pretty much not in contention and like let's be honest.
Yeah.
Had it been the Yankees or something like that, or like it's the Cowboys, I wonder what the like response to the league would have been. Like it would have to have been different.
Right, and then look at football. If a team like if the Chiefs have an outbreak, oh no, but if
but if it's like the Raiders,
they'll be like
or arguably the best example, the Chargers.
Well, they're used to playing with nobody.
Let's just stick with Florida teams and go with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Shad Khan's just gonna make them play every game in England.
That's true.
Shad Khan probably has enough space on his yacht for an entire football field, so they can all quarantine there.
Yeah, sports that
why not an overseas bubble play all the games at like Tottenham Stadium or something.
Well, first of all, they can't get there. First of all, and second of all,
they're essential. They're essential. They'll figure it out.
Oh yeah. American football is essential in Europe. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
What about Euro League?
Yeah, Europa League. Yeah, that went well. The Frankfurt Galaxy lasted a long time, but I just personally and like I don't see how the MLB can finish their season. I just don't know if the NFL is even going to be able to do it. If they don't find a way to bubble, unless they just took like division teams and like said, you guys are just going to play each other, which I don't think would happen.
How does that fuck up fantasy? All right, well,
but that's just like a worst case scenario. I just personally like. Yeah. I think at least the NFL gets the benefit of saying like, let's see what happens with baseball because it is essentially the same thing.
But they're running out of time. Like camps are starting, and then the season's supposed to start in 6 weeks.
They barely got an agreement in on time, and I know guys like league mouthpiece Dan Graziano say like, oh well, there was a lot of negotiating going on for the time that everybody said nothing was getting done. You had 3 fucking months, dude.
Yeah, and who was negotiating? DeMaurice Smith, who I don't think ever has the best interest of the players, even though he's the leader of the players' union. Come on. Mm-mm. But look, ultimately,
J.C. Treader speaking for the players.
But it's like ultimately, what happens for fantasy when single games are I think it's not if, it's when they get postponed. I guess what do we do for rosters? Do we just hey man, you need to build your team assuming that you're gonna have to dig into this depth. And
I think that's exactly how it has to go.
I feel like we can't hold anybody's hand. Like we all kind of know. Like I'm not saying like how do we bail people out? I just think like what happens like I know the way the schedule is like week 2 teams that play each other all have the same bye week. So like what if a game gets moved from like week 2 to like week 17? Those weeks are just kind of null and void. Like we're not about like we can't like expand our fantasy season. Like we can't really, like we can't. There's what do we do? We just have to prepare for hey man, your whole starting lineup might get coronavirus and you're fucked. Sadly, like what do we do about roster spots? Do we like what's the solution for kind of navigating if there is a full season with speed bumps?
There's no easy solution. I think it can also come down to like maybe like with the idea of like the asterisk trophy where we weigh the decision and get as much input as possible and see at a certain point if there's enough disruption if we think that the season is worthy of the asterisk or something like that.
I mean, the way I see it is like injuries happen. I mean, obviously it's a pandemic, which is different than tearing an ACL. But if you have like 9 guys on your fantasy team, if you have 9 guys on the same team, like then and they get screwed. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like diversify your team.
I think it's just different than injuries because I'm talking about. I think most likely with the NFL they're going to weed out the positive tests, get them out of there. But I feel like that's just hard to do. Like assuming like if games are getting postponed, I feel like it's not as easy as all right. Well, I'll just snag if available. Let me just snag a backup off waivers and plug them in. It's not as easy as that. And I think our league's super different. Like 28 roster spots. It can't be as simple just plug and play off waivers like in any redraft. But I just think it's tough to navigate. I guess what solutions really can we come up with, if any?
What do you think, Kamish?
Yeah, it's tough. Fortunately, I did see that MFL added that there could be IR spots for strictly COVID and holdout as part of that category, but strictly people that are opting out of the season can be put onto an IR spot. So I'm definitely going to turn that on.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with the amount of IR spots are on the roster. As of now, it's still just 3. But if you do have those players, and the only one that I guess Devin Funchess now too, but I was going to say Marquise Goodwin was on there. So he already is updated, has the status on him that he's able to be moved into the IR. I just didn't update the settings yet, so you can't do it but that will be done. So fortunately, that's there. I'm going to turn it on, even though if someone holds out to whatever, I don't care. If Dalvin Cook, I think he reported actually, but if Dalvin Cook was to hold out, all right, you could throw him in the IR spot if you want.
But regardless, even if he did hold out, you're still keeping him on your roster.
Yeah.
No, right.
But normally he would just be taking up one of your roster spots for that, and it's not a big deal for him.
But who realistically you're going to replace him with anyway? Like it's.
But just for ease, I don't care if those guys also go into it, because just to get the opt-out guys on the team, and you don't have to drop them if you don't want to. I mean, right now there's no one really that relevant.
Yeah.
But
There
it
will be.
happen.
There's gonna be, and then when it happens, when whomever decides, it's gonna. Then that's when we're gonna go, okay, this is gonna be different. I mean, obviously, fantasy football in the grand scheme of life is like not the biggest thing in the world. As well, it
Right.
is the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But
Oh, trust me,
It
I just
is.
wrote the league letter on that for my college league. Yes, we do a league letter. I wrote it for the college
dearest
league today.
compatriots. Yeah.
You joke, but he started the letter like that last year.
Interesting.
And I covered the same concept. It's like, this is a blip in the grand scheme of things, and it's weird to kind of confront because, like, you know it in the back of your head, but
I think personally, like the way I would like to see it handled is what Alex was saying, like having those spots that like so they don't take up spots on your roster and you can go dig deep, because like there are going to be guys that come if they decide like, oh, these two people have it, like guys from the practice squad or whatever are going to come up and be like, oh, maybe I'll grab that guy. But like I wouldn't want it to affect the long term. I think it's just keep it for now so you don't lose anybody, and then you just almost have to kind of roll with it. And
So I was going to say, I mentioned
it's
this
going to
before,
happen.
too, when they get put on that COVID reserve list, whether they test positive or whether they came in contact with someone that did test positive and they have to quarantine, those guys automatically already can be put on your IR. So if you have someone on your team, like I know you have Justin Jefferson, Dennis,
Yeah, so that
he can be put on the IR right now.
Yeah.
So that will happen. And because of all this, I think that means we need to up the number of IR spots. And I don't see any reason why there should be really any limit on the IR spots for this season. So I'm just going to put the IR
agree
spots
with
up to
that.
like 50 or something. And then,
Yeah.
like
no, 49.
49, whatever. But I'm just going to up them up
Yeah.
where it's essentially unlimited IR spots.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the main thing was the keeper league for me. The too many IR spots meant guys hoarding potential keepers. That's not really an issue now.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Yeah.
like. I mean, obviously, you still want to have like not have 10 guys on IR. You still should be able to pick and choose.
Yeah.
But yeah, not this year.
Sure.
obviously.
There's guys that you might have dropped before that now are going to be actual IR players that you can hold on to
Yeah.
for a year. But you know what? If that is the reason, if that's just a
Yeah.
side effect of this happening,
Mhm.
whatever. Who cares?
Whatever.
It's not
I
going to
feel
be
like-
that
I
big
feel
a
like-
deal in the Dynasty League.
I feel like next week's podcast, because I think what's the dates, like August 3rd now.
August 4th,
that-
maybe even
but
August
then-
5th. We don't
But then
know
there's
yet.
like other like dates, because like between like the letters they submit or whatever it is. I don't know. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
So, I mean, I'm sure we'll know the information by that time, because at
Yeah.
least the players will have
Yeah.
announced, even if it's not official yet. You know,
Right.
they don't want to hold
Yeah,
out
we'll hear
forever
the
and not have no
rumors,
one
we'll
know.
hear-
You know.
We can
We'll
wait
hear
till
all the stuff.
we can wait till late next week if we need
Exactly.
to.
They'll let their team know. You know, if they're not showing up to camp,
Right.
we'll find out from the media.
Oh,
Right.
Um,
August 4th is next Tuesday, I believe. So yeah,
I think
if
it's
we
the
do
5th now. I don't think the letter happened today. So it
Right.
has to
So
be
if
the
we
5th
if we
or
if we do the podcast like on a Thursday or whatever.
over under somebody just wakes up late for camp and is gonna
That's-
be like,
yeah,
they're like
exactly.
I'm holding
Oh,
out.
you mean like
It's-
you mean
go-
like how Vic Beasley didn't show up to camp?
Oh,
today, and
dude, I saw. Did you see
he
the
just
tweet
signed.
I tagged
What,
you in?
it's not like he could be negotiating a contract or something.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Did you see the tweet, the Kendall
Fortunately, he's
Jackson
not
tweet
our problem
I
anymore.
tagged you in about that?
I didn't. Oh, I haven't checked yet. No. I'll check it out.
He's very upset about this.
Also, so my original intention was I was going to raise the roster size, at least keep it at the 32 it is now for the full season. But now with the extra IR, I don't believe I need to do that. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on. Initially, we were going to cut down to 28 on Labor Day weekend because it's right after week 4 of the preseason. However, there is no preseason.
Yeah, I know that's tough.
Do
I
I
don't want
still-
to.
We could treat the start of the season as a pseudo preseason and kind of cut it down to the original cut down of 2 weeks.
I mean, I think. I mean, I can't just say, oh, well, cutting down the roster, because like last year it was easy to cut guys. This year it's not so much with the rookies coming in, and there's still those fringe guys.
It's just because nothing has happened yet. Still,
for our
I mean,
right,
last
and like
year it was easy because if you draft well like I do, then it was hard. But
yes,
I could say this.
But
'cause
yeah,
you
like
beat me
if
and took my
there's
money.
Because like, are there designated cut days for like NFL now? Like, what are they doing? Like, when are they cutting their rosters down? Are there even dates for that? Is that still just the
Has to do
normal
with training
like,
camp. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they already had the first one to cut down to 80.
Yeah.
Now they have the
right. But like, when are they? You know, like I mean, no, and even for NFL
I'm
teams,
sure the
how
cut
are
day
you-
is still the same. It's still what would have
Yeah.
been after week
even
4.
even NFL teams like evaluating cuts. Like you don't have no live game action to evaluate talent. I bet some good guys are going to slip through.
Yeah.
I would just like Lucio said, I would just wait to the beginning of the season, just as late as you can, just for
Yeah.
now. I wouldn't
don't have
I wouldn't expand the roster. I would just leave it as is. But
Yeah, I would leave it
Yeah,
as
leave it
is.
at 32
I mean,
for
it's
now
Still
and-
make.
yeah,
I mean,
I think
ultimately,
we'll play it by year, but I personally think 2 weeks is a good splitting the difference initially.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
And
It's
then
just a bunch of
another question is, say the season does get canceled, how do we determine the 2021 draft order?
we
That's
fist
the big question.
fight. And we just yes, last man standing.
All of a sudden, you just
It's
see me
the
show
pick.
up with a knife, and you're like, "All right, well,
So my weapon isn't as good as what.
I mean, this'll hurt.
Really fight somebody wearing this? Wait, no, I have the idea.
Where's Lucha?
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on.
Yes, I would.
Shit. You fucking DJ.
It's just we'll just do like a PUBG thing where I'll just rent an airplane. We'll all
Actually,
get a
though, why don't
dozen-
we settle it in like Fortnite?
Oh no. Or like the Madden tournament.
Yeah.
We'll all just make our
Wait, how did you
teams in
didn't you-
Madden and then just simulate and just get like a
yeah,
whatever.
but that means we have to have the
No.
same team they're playing every time.
No
Yep.
defense.
Yep.
No
Just
defense,
just
just
no
see who
defense.
fucks up or not. It's all just drops.
All right.
my-
All right. Well, Tom's starting Mitch Trubisky.
Well, honestly, I just think at that point it depends though, because like if you get a couple of games in, I think if you get like 1 or 2 weeks in, I don't know if that's an accurate representation. Like I think if you're like halfway through, I think you could kind of get an idea.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before.
If there was a
maybe-
way to do a weighted lottery type of thing.
I know. Yeah, I know.
That's-
We said it like last year, and then like the dynasty rankings or something like that.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking, and I was saying week 11 because by that point everyone played each
Yeah.
other once, so you don't get
Yeah.
the little advantage of I already played Anthony and Kyle, and then another team. Well, I had to play Bruce and Lucho, and like
Yeah.
where it's
Will-
like that.
Will the players that are choosing to opt out affect the status of the season? Like if Pat Mahomes calls up tomorrow and goes, "Yeah, man, fuck this, I'm good." Are they like
It
if
has
guys like
to.
that? Like if
It
guys
has
like
to.
that start opting out, is the NFL going to go like, "Hey, man, should we
Oh.
even do this?" Like,
I thought
Yes,
you were talking
because-
about like
because money.
head-to-head records in fantasy.
no, I
I
literally
was like,
didn't.
yeah,
mean us.
my
I
team
meant
will
like
not
the
be
NFL in
good if
general.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes opts out.
No,
Yeah,
like
They're going to do
just-
everything in their power to play because they need to make money. It's
Yeah.
just
Like
that
the
I
league in
think
general,
those
like-
guys that are getting paid so much money won't opt out because it's just you're losing an entire year.
Well, like that's
of
why, like we said, Russell Wilson, like Dante Hightower, just opt out. Maybe not because Belichick has a plan, but because him and his fiance just had a baby.
yeah.
Russell
I
Wilson's
actually
in the same
think
boat.
I think it's inverse because I think the people who have the money are more likely to not do it
Well, it
because
depends,
they have
though.
the
It's like-
security.
But if you're one of these guys that are like, well, I'm going to be missing out on $25 million this year, and my career is only going to
Yeah.
last as much, is it really worth the 1
Yeah.
year?
But
Maybe
a
I
guy
should
like
sacrifice
J-
seeing my
guaranteed.
family for that time.
Yeah, it's true. Well, you also have a guy like JJ Watt too. Like JJ Watt, like definitely has the money somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, it's different
Yeah.
for those really.
That's what I mean. Like Russell Wilson's got it.
yeah,
like-
sure.
He's got Sierra money.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. There's just still so many. I mean, hopefully in a week it's
Yeah.
more
I think
clear.
the NFL will do as much they can to
Yeah.
convince those types of players not to opt out.
I just think
and for a fantasy standpoint, if someone like Russell Wilson opts out and Tom just backs into if what's his name, Anthony Gordon, is that the guy they?
no,
drafted?
it's
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon.
I think it's Anthony Gordon. Yeah.
It is
So
Jeff
like,
Gordon.
if you have situations like that where if like shit like this happens, and then someone like Tom backs his way into a potential starting quarterback,
I think it's
mean,
more likely you bring back these random guys that haven't
No, yeah,
been on a team.
Definitely. Also, is it
Matt
not
Flynn
Also,
finally got
Geno
his shot
Smith.
in Seattle.
Geno Smith is on Seattle.
Geno Smith?
Oh man,
I'm too excited for Geno Smith.
It's Geno time.
Is that? Oh, it's that Geno Smith music I hear.
Who's the then Seahawks just gonna sign that dude that punched him in the face again?
Yeah.
Oh no, not this guy.
Oh God, not again.
I just think with this league in general, I think we should just keep it as simple as we can.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yes.
And kind
I
of
think-
play it by ear as it goes. And
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
again, we've all known
last minute decision.
we've all known for 4 months what may or may
Somebody,
not happen.
it's easy to say now when we're all 0-0, except for me because I'm gonna lose every game apparently. But
What do you mean? Well,
I,
no, we already figured out the league standing.
oh yeah, that's right. I'm finishing.
Yeah.
I'm painfully average. But I just think now it's easier to be like, yeah, no problem. But then like say we get 4 weeks in, you're 4-0, and then you're like, oh fuck this, fuck that. So I think we all just need to like remember that like these are like unprecedented times, and like fantasy football does come second in the grand scheme of things. But
And I get we're all playing for money, but at the same time, it's mostly for fun.
It's
and
all that's
Yeah.
the thing, and we're
Yeah,
all
like,
not
we're
we're
at- yeah,
random
it's-
people. Besides, I don't know. Some people don't know.
Yeah,
some
like
people.
we're at the age where $100, like, granted,
I
Sure,
agree.
it's money.
$100 is a lot right now.
It's a
man.
pandemic, Mike.
yeah, right. But like ultimately, like
Mike was going to say $100 isn't a lot of money, but then Lucho said it is a lot of money, so he changed his tone. I'm calling it how I see it. I'm calling it
I
how
was
I
gonna
see
say
it.
it's not a lot of money.
I
but-
know, and then Lucho said it was, and then you're like, yeah, it is a lot of.
Not it is, but it's more. It's not like we're playing for like $1,000 or something.
No,
Like,
no.
serious.
I also
You don't
I
want
also-
to play for this
nothing.
new stimulus check that might be coming in for some of us.
Let's just all. Why don't we all throw our fucking our Trump money, our Trump bucks?
Trump bucks.
some-
Only if I get a paper U.S. currency with the face of Donald Trump on it.
Drawn in
paying
crayon like a
$1,200.
fucking Chuck E. Cheese dollar.
And then did you draw on it with crayon? I thought maybe you would.
maybe you'd buy it.
No, I just think it gets to a point like if like week 3 there's like some crazy outbreak and like we're not doing it. I think we just should just roll over everything into next year.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out.
Yeah, we think
And then just at that point just be like, all right, it's a weighted lottery how you finished whenever.
Yeah, and like for that weighted lottery, I was gonna add in like basically the dynasty power rankings and fantasy pros, maybe the 2020 power rankings added in, maybe the 2019 standings, maybe put it as much as I can.
I do think there should be an aspect of, as like a small aspect of community vote too.
Yeah,
If it's easier to like compile.
yeah,
We need a third party arbitrator.
Yeah.
Madden.
Get
Yeah.
Dan to do it.
Like,
I
Dan
said
doesn't
third
know anything.
Third party, I said.
We need- We need Chris Willard.
Chris Willard would be perfect for that because he would just do the lottery in his head. He'd be like, "You have this much percentage," and then just write it down. Like, oh, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I just do think it's very important that we all just kind of keep in mind that like this may not work, and I
Yeah.
think it's
well, I think the good thing with the NFL is they are setting a deadline to opt out. So, I mean, at least for fantasy, we should know before the season even starts who's playing, who's not. So if it sucks, but if you have a big time player that's out, you have time to adjust, make a move if you have to. But that would also be shitty if you have a guy that opts out and you make a trade to fill that void, but then the season gets canceled, then it's kind of null and void. I mean,
well, that's part of the risk. Like it's
the
just
right.
risk in general.
It's the risk. I'm not saying
That's why I
it
think a
shouldn't
lot
be
of
compensated.
as we get closer, I think a lot of the trade talk has like stopped in this league.
Yeah. Well, we also there's
Yep.
things like, so I know Phil traded for Beckham. What if all of a sudden Beckham holds out? Like, oh well, that sucks. You already traded for him.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I'm not saying, hey, we should nullify trades that were made. Like we've all known the risk of making any move.
Yeah.
So, but listen, I think next week we'll have a clearer picture of who's around and who's not, and we can go from there and just hope that people don't fuck around. I mean, I don't even want to say fuck around. You can get it at it by doing.
I was gonna say no one's getting as screwed as Joey got with Andrew Luck retiring after he already drafted him before we even had one game in
Yes,
the dynasty.
yes.
So
This is
at this
true.
point, all
There's
of this
also-
stuff is less than that.
There's also the factor too. I mean, it's probably unlikely, but like if you do get somebody like I don't know, like you say, Beckham goes down, then like somebody takes his place, and then like there is value to still be had. Like it might
Shark
not be
Higgins
as
finally breaks out.
yeah, it's not like as definitive, but I mean like that guy might get a chance. It's still like a space holder there, like a weird way. Like
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Backup
actually a good
Stiller
point.
thing.
That's a good point, Say. That's like use it as like a rough watermark of if you think you got more screwed than Joey did in the startup,
Then
you
we'll
might
talk.
have a case. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. But like I said, I think next week should clear things up with this, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about next week because the rumors are dozens of players have chosen to opt out, but we just there hasn't been any formal announcement.
Yeah, but at the same time, the majority of these guys, like half these guys, I haven't even heard of.
Right.
Like what was that?
There's gonna
Saints
be
tight
some.
end? Like I don't even know what it's.
There's gonna be some bombshell. Like there's gonna be a couple.
There'll be at
guys.
least one.
There
Yeah.
already
And I
have
think
been.
Cole Wick. Like
Cole
Never
Wick,
heard of him.
Tight end.
Cole Wick, the coach's son.
oh, he went to the man.
University of Wyoming.
No.
No, I'm not interested.
I
You're
all right. Well, I might pronounce the word wrong. I might pronounce, but the University of the Incarnate Word.
Incarnate word.
Incarnate Word.
Is that Canadian? Sounds
It's in
Canadian.
San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah. That is an evangelical university.
Oh, Mr. Joel Olstein or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
I will
These guys.
see you on the 700 Club, boys.
A guy named
It-
Cole Wick would. go.
It's a absolutely for-profit college, and they've made it known that it's
For
for-profit.
profit spelled PROPHET.
Oh,
There were
damn!
big. By the way, there were big rumors of Nick Foles possibly opting out, but they squashed that today.
Mhm.
They murdered him. So they said.
Well, I mean that would have sucked for the Bears, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know, man. It's crazy. I hope we do get football, just in general.
Me too.
Like, I really do. It just
Yeah, same. Honestly, I'm actually kind of a little excited about like weird unknown shit happening in the fantasy league because I think it'll be interesting as long as it's
Yeah.
not like putting too much work on mainly on
or it
Alex's
doesn't
shoulders.
happen to you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
this
really
is
want-
great.
I
Do
really-
jokes.
Well, I mean, for me,
Eating
like
popcorn on the
Zeke
sideline.
had it, right? Like Zeke had it, so I don't have to worry about him opting out. Like little details like that. Like not to say, oh, hey, everyone get it in April and May, but
Just have chicken pox parties.
Well, what
Like
kind
someone-
of sucks is like this
someone like
list that they
Von
go
Miller's
on.
not opting out.
What sucks is this list they go on. They don't have to disclose if they had it or not. So it's like
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
we
if they
hear
were
all
just
these
like
guys.
exposed.
Do they actually have it? We won't know when it happens,
right.
most likely. And then maybe a couple days later they come off the list because they're like, "Well, turns out they didn't have it."
It's also
Right.
just
well, that's
really,
how. Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
also really
it's
annoying
just- it's weird.
hearing all the people just like, you're getting paid all this money. You should be out there, die for my
Yeah.
entertainment. And then you're just like,
Where they're like, "Yeah, I don't have a choice to opt out from my job."
Motherfucker,
You
you're
do.
not one of
You
the
can
best
just-
people in the world at what you do.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
maybe you should negotiate for that opt out clause.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just that bothers me. It's like they're not gladiators. They're not supposed to die
Union.
for your
Right.
fucking inner.
and to be and
conflict.
listen, and to be fair, if you opt out, like you're not getting your full salary. Like you get that stipend or whatever it is, like 150,000.
150,000 for
or
low
three.
risk, 350
Yeah,
for high risk.
It's coming. No, it's coming from your pay from next year, which this rolls over to. So you're getting if you get paid
Oh, so
$8 million,
technically,
you get $150,000 like in advance, and then it just
Right.
comes
You're,
out in
take, you're,
21.
you're
So not-
taking some sort of pay cut.
So
yeah.
as
So
funny
you're,
as it
you're,
is
you're,
for
yeah, you're
as funny as it
forfeiting
is for
salary.
all these for people to say that the Patriots are tanking for Trevor, guys like Donta Hightower, guys like Donta
No.
Hightower would never be like, okay, Bill, you know what? I'm not gonna get paid this year. We're gonna roll over my salary, and then you guys are gonna get Trevor Lawrence because of what I did, and then I'm not gonna be on the team when it all comes together.
Yes,
Right.
sir, Mr. Belichick. Absolutely, Mr. Belichick.
Well, if,
Yeah,
if,
right.
if anybody did it, it would be the Patriots. Like Bill holding a gun to Dante Hightower's head. Be like, yo, you're going to fucking sit out.
Bill Bill doesn't hold the gun. The dog holds the gun.
Yeah, well, the
People were
dog,
laughing. They're
the
like, "There's
dog
probably-"
is Bill.
People were laughing. There was like, there's probably some obscure rule where if you can't field a roster, you win the Super Bowl automatically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just Air Bud in his elder years now. He can only coach.
Air Bud Golden Retriever 2 or Golden Receiver 2. Yeah, Golden Retriever. That's like 3-dimensional chess. One of those great things I say.
Which is just chess.
Which is just chess. Somebody brought up online that they were like, people say that Bill Belichick is the smartest and best like players coach probably in history. There's a very good chance that he was just taking this very seriously and told them, put yourself first instead of this fucking game. And that's why so many Patriots have opted out. Because they actually have been
Especially
told
early,
to care about themselves.
Yeah. Like, oh, hey, that's an option. Yeah, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, and that's easy for Bill Belichick to say, somebody who's just won a Super Bowl.
That's true. Like these,
That
especially
many
guys with
times.
the high tower. He's already.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. What else am I gonna do? Go win another one?
Yeah, it's probably easier to state the competitive
It's all just
aspect.
Yeah, it's all just, hey, you're gonna lose a year of your salary, but you're not risking your family's health.
Hey, all right, Cam. I know you just signed, but could you?
Well, that's the thing. If Cam and Edelman opt out, then you know there's some serious shit going on. But...
Listen, I know we were like the only offer, but put yourself first, please.
I'm begging you.
Put yourself first.
What I found was pretty gutsy were for some of these undrafted free agents to opt out.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like, your career might be done.
Right.
But you know what, too? Like, at the same time, those guys may have realized, you know what, maybe
my career's done anyway.
I'm not doing it, so why take the unnecessary risk to chase?
But what sucks is
I don't
even. It looks like they don't even get any money because
they're not. Do you have to have to be under? You have to be like under contract or something.
Well, I think that's still being worked out in this letter. So that's things. There's like some free agents too that decided to.
True. Yeah, it's
Warford,
strange.
I think, was a free
But
it's
Warford
strange. I don't know.
Point might be. There's a chance he's signed by the Pats.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
just be a free agent, opt out the season, just so you could say, well, yeah, I didn't want to play anyway. No one wanted to.
Clowney's gonna do that soon.
But yeah, man, I don't know if anyone has anything else. We'll kind of wrap up because I know. Like I said, next week we should have way more news on this. Yeah. But anyone else got any last?
No, I just want to say, hey, Dennis, thanks for jumping on the pod once again.
Yeah, man. I'm always down to hang with the boys, and I'm not in that elite group yet, but I'll be there. I'll be there one day, so then we can all get on the podcast and be like, look at us, we're all here again, like you guys do with Tom. So I'll be in that group one day. So don't worry. And thanks for having me.
Well, not
man.
according to Tom's power ranking.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like I said, we're gonna take care of that. So.
All right, Luch.
All right.
Final words.
Yeah, anything?
Not really. I just, like I said, I'm weirdly a little excited. As long as I'm in the most positive sense. I don't want anything bad to happen to players. I obviously, like you said, it's a blip on the radar, but I'm a little weirdly excited for this season just to see all the weird shit that could happen.
You're Professor Chaos over there.
Mike, close it out, man.
Yeah, no, listen. Thanks for listening. Listen, thanks everyone for listening for this long tonight. I know we honestly didn't have much. We did a good job stretching this.
We just hung out is really kind of what just happened. It's really more or less what happened.
Yeah. So listen, that's it. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe, everyone do your thing. And
check out the podcast network.
Yeah.
Ooh, coming soon.
Yeah.
Did they record one yet?
I don't know.
Kyle and Tom?
Not sure.
I don't know.
Will we ever know? Who knows?
Soon.
I'm very interested to see what that podcast is like full disclosure. Very interested. Because Kyle's podcast on here had me rolling on the fucking floor.
I think it's him and his internet connection.
Just technical
difficulties. It was so funny. Because he froze in that frame like this, and he just kept going.
And what did he say when we tried to stop him?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I remember. It was just so funny. It was so funny.
Oh, yeah, no. He's going to get the slow-mo, and we're trying to stop him. He goes, I could podcast all day or something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Something
You
like
could.
that.
I loved his like ads in there too that were like the best. He's like, oh, if you look at a screen all day, it was so.
Promo code fuck dick.
But by far the best thing in the world was the shirt that just said football. Like it just was like the most. I love that man so much.
We'll have him on again. So long, everybody.
I'm actually reconsidering the fight to the death now. Actually, now that I remember Kyle's in this league, because I'm pretty sure none of us have a fucking chance against.
Yeah,
him.
we do not. We do not.
No,
Tom's the only one
Kyle-
that could possibly hold him off, so we can all.
Tom's
run
gonna
away.
Tom will be rooting for Kyle. All right.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Tom would just.
Oh
be
yeah,
like,
this is not. a
Kyle,
good
kill
idea.
me. It's fine.
Good thing I said I had a knife.
Yeah, my filter's not doing much.
Later, everyone.